Relationships are a better predictor of our happiness, more so than money, fame, IQ, or even genetics. We know people who have the most healthy relationships perform better on mental function tests, they're less likely to get dementia, anxiety, depression, or even strokes. Relationships are also a better predictor than cholesterol for how well your physical health will be. And having healthy relationships also allows you to form healthy habits. You're less likely to smoke or drink, for example. On the other side of this, we have loneliness. Loneliness decreases your lifespan by 26%. But that comes with a catch. So it decreases your lifespan after it's already given you an increased risk of stroke, dementia, heart disease, anxiety and depression. Unfortunately, this affects a huge number of the population. So we know, for example, in America, 50% of people reported being lonely. And if we're able to, we have to take the initiative. We need to join social groups like sports, cooking, hiking, walking. And yes, it's hard to join a social group, socialize with others, form bonds. But if the cost of having peak physical and mental health, having ultimate life satisfaction and the highest levels of happiness, and the cost is to socialize and try to form bonds, I think that's worth it, to be honest. Sign me up. So we know that specifically romantic relationships lead to the highest levels of life satisfaction, the best mental health. You have the highest amount of tranquility, alertness, all of that good stuff. So romantic relationships, healthy romantic relationships lead to that all of that good stuff. But what leads to healthy romantic relationships? It's positive dyadic coping and positive communication. So what's positive dyadic coping? Dyadic coping, that's when you problem solve with your partner, you work through things together using problem solving, rationality, reasoning. So let's say your partner is stressed or they're sick and they can't do some of their work. So what you do is you communicate together, delegate tasks differently, problem solve, and that's essentially what it all is. Now, on the other hand, we have positive communication. So that's when you listen to your partner with curiosity. You hear what they say, use words of affirmation like, okay, I see where you're coming from. Nod your head, elaborate on what they're saying to show that you're paying attention and you want to understand their perspective. Also showing affection, so give them a hug after a long day from work, give them a little smooch. Do the little things to show them that they're on your mind. So, they text you that they're hungry on your way back from work. You grab them some food. You show that, oh, you are on my mind. I was thinking about you. You matter to me. Make jokes with them to alleviate some tension. So maybe they're stressed after a long day. Do some light, playful teasing. Nothing too pushy that breaks the boundaries, but just enough to uplift their mood. Show them that you care. The first 10 years of a relationship is usually the hardest. This is the time when you're having kids, so there's childcare. You're still building up yourself financially, so you're financially unstable. You're emotionally unstable because you're still getting to understand your partner over these 10 years. It's usually after these 10 years, once you've built financial stability, the kids require less care, you can spend more time connecting with your partner. That time is also linked to more personal lifetime satisfaction, better mental health outcomes in your personal life. So it's worth investing in long-term relationships. And this 10 years of hardship in the beginning of a relationship is especially hard for extroverted women. So extroverted women usually spend more time at home doing chores, the childcare, when they yearn to go out and socialize. And a way to deal with this is, like we discussed, dyadic coping. So, use problem solving, delegate tasks differently between you, and, happy wife, happy life. What if you're a sadist and you want to ruin a relationship? So we know that positive dyadic coping means good, healthy, happy relationships. So what's the opposite? Negative dyadic coping. So negative dyadic coping is actually so good at ruining relationships. It can predict the likelihood of divorce by 90%. 90%. 90. And it's not only good at ruining your relationship, it also ruins your life. So we know people with negative dyadic coping have more depression, poor mental health, anxiety, feelings of agitation, general feelings of life dissatisfaction. So it's a great tool if you just want to be depressed. So negative dialectic coping involves four main things. One of them is criticism. You want to direct your anger not at your partner's ideas or behaviors, but at them personally. So let's say, your partner hasn't called you all day, they've been busy at work. So they come back home and you say, you're selfish. All you care about is yourself. You don't care about me. You're just arrogant. I hate you. That's criticism. And now complaining is, to direct your frustration at their behavior. So, oh, I was feeling lonely all day. I was worried about you. Next time, could you just please give me a call or a quick text so I can make sure everything's okay with you? That would be directing your frustration at their behavior. The second part of dialectic coping is contempt, and that's the biggest predictor of divorce. And contempt is to disrespect your partner, ridicule them, call them names, assume a position of superiority over them. Just be absolute dickhead to them. And as an example, here's a quote from the author. Oh, you're tired? Cry me a river. I've been with the kids all day running around to keep this house going, and all you do is come back home from work, flop down on the sofa like a kid, and play these idiotic video games. I don't even have the time to deal with another kid. Could you be any more pathetic? My flatmates think I'm crazy. So the great thing about contempt is not only does it ruin your relationship, it also weakens your immune system. We know that couples who are more contemptuous end up with more colds, more flus, which is quite interesting. Your mental health affects your physical health, the more you know. The third part of dialectic coping is defensiveness, bad defensiveness. So this is not taking accountability and playing the victim. And this basically shows a partner, I don't care about your opinion, I don't care about what you're thinking, and I'm too immature to actually take responsibility. On the other hand, we have accepting responsibility and admitting fault. This is the healthy way to be defensive. So let's take, for example, your partner asks you, oh, did you pay the electricity bill today? You come back and say, I've been busy from the morning, I had 1,000 things to do, and you know that. And if it was so important, you should have done it. The healthy way would be to say, oh, I'm sorry, I've been so busy today, I should have told you in the morning, I'll pay it as soon as possible. Simple, taking accountability and amending your mistakes. Now the last part of dialectic coping is stonewalling, aka the silent treatment. So the silent treatment makes sense sometimes, it seems that way, or you feel emotionally overwhelmed, the same negative situations been happening over and over again and you're just sick of it. You don't feel like you can reason rationally with your partner, and so you just do the silent treatment, stonewall. But the problem is this is another predictor of relationship dissatisfaction. A better way would be to tell your partner, I feel emotionally overwhelmed at the moment. I would like to take some time out of the conversation, have some time with myself to recenter myself, and we can talk about this at another time. So you go out, go on a 20-minute walk, listen to some music, read a book, do a distracting, relaxing activity, and then come back with a more rational, relaxed, open mind to discuss with your partner your frustrations and increase your relationship satisfaction and your life satisfaction. Okay, so we know that relationships lead to life satisfaction, but also having a good relationship with yourself leads to relationship satisfaction. Specifically, people who are conscientious have greater relationship satisfaction, and conscientiousness is to be organized. So you set to-do lists and you complete them. You're self-disciplined, you have a strong sense of duty and responsibility towards others. You're ambitious and you're reliable, you don't act impulsively, and you try to achieve excellence when you complete a task. These traits aren't only linked to relationship satisfaction, as you can imagine. People who have these traits also have good career success, and they also just generally have good physical and mental health. The opposite of conscientiousness is neuroticism. This personality trait involves things like being stressed and having trouble calming down, having a lack of control over one's emotions, being impulsive and being full of self-doubt. And so this type of person in a relationship would be full of insecurities and anxiety. And so usually they will be hostile and passive aggressive to their partner. And so naturally this is a great predictor of relationship dissatisfaction, but also life dissatisfaction in general. there is hope for people with unsatisfying relationships. So we've seen that in couples whose relationship satisfaction and life satisfaction is decreasing once they went to couples therapy, for example, and they were introduced to these ideas of positive dyadic coping and positive communication. We saw that their trajectory actually went up. They had more relationship satisfaction and life satisfaction. And what's interesting, we saw improvements in people who didn't incorporate positive dyadic coping or communication, but all they did was eliminate negative dyadic coping and communication, and their relationship satisfaction still increased, although not to the same level as those who use positive forms of dyadic coping and communication. But it's still interesting that you can improve your relationship by just eliminating the bad parts. So it all is talk about relationships. Obviously, love is very important for relationships. But if I was to ask you, what is love? Some people might say, oh, it's this specific feeling you get, and when you get it, you know it. But love actually has a very specific, strict definition. It's important to know this definition, because then we know how to give love. And then we know if we're receiving love, if we've ever even received love in our lives, that is. Love is a very rare thing, you'll be surprised. Down below I've included a free journal that will allow you to understand what love is and allow you to live a more fulfilling life.